We are back with a guest who has been on the StressLess Camping podcast several times now.
Yeah.
Whom we've even camped with.
That's right.
Joel Holland from Harvest Hosts. Joel, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me back. It's been a little bit, and I was just thinking about our camping trip out in Colorado. I guess we're coming up on hopefully due for another one in not too long.
Yeah, hopefully.
I hope so. That was really great. And that campground, they've been working on it. They have power poles now and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
So,
ooh, nice.
Yeah. But that's not why we're here. Joel, you probably already know, comes to us from Harvest Hosts, which is just a terrific program. And we'll put a link to our episode with Joel about Harvest Hosts. But now, Harvest Hosts, you guys have been busy. And you have something new called CampScanner. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So, I'm really excited about CampScanner. It's a product that we've been working on for over a year. It's a product I've wanted for more than a year. The very basic premise is it's really hard to get into national and state parks these days. They book out months in advance, many of them, 6 months plus. As soon as those reservation windows open, people, rush to recreation.gov and grab everything. And it's frustrating because people like me, I'm a last minute camper. To me, the fun of RVing is I don't plan that far ahead, right? That's what makes it stressless is it's spontaneous. It's supposed to be fun. Like planning is for work, right? Like spontaneity is for road travel. So I hated the fact that we would want to go somewhere like Arches, National Park is an example, not too far from us, but impossible to get a campsite in. And so I started realizing a lot of these campgrounds actually have tons of openings. Their last minute cancellation rates are really high, but it's hard to find those unless you're on the website constantly refreshing, which no one wants to do. So we built this website, CampScanner. You put in the park you want to go to. Again, Arches is a good example. Put in the dates you want to go. And as an example, over Memorial Day weekend, I put in Memorial Day weekend, which is absolutely no chance of getting into Arches. And every 5 minutes, it scanned for cancellations. And it found me 10 different openings over the course of that weekend. Yep, last minute. I mean, it was wild. So, had we wanted to, had I been here at our home in Vail, I would have gotten a text message from CampScanner saying there's an opening at Arches. Act fast. You click the link, it takes you right to the booking system, in this case, recreation.gov, and just bam, grab the site. So that was the idea, was help people get last minute, bookings in really hard to get places like Acadia and Glacier and Yosemite, with a really, easy tool. And by the way, really cheap. It's not, we made this as inexpensive, right? Because the idea here is to help get more people into the parks. So, the tool starts at like $39 for an entire year, and it goes up to $79 for an entire year for the most high frequency scanning. And you can have 15 concurrent scans. So it's great. It's going well. We built this for a year. We built it. We launched it only a few short weeks ago. We've already had over 100,000 campground scans go through the system. And so far, it looks like 26% of those roughly have led to successful reservations, which is really cool.
Wow. Yeah.
So people are finding ways to get into the parks they want to visit. There are over 12,500 parks in our system, and that represents 200,000 campsites. So there's a lot in there.
And I mean, we've all seen it nowadays. It's a huge pain point with a lot of campers where you're at some beautiful place, and let's say you did reserve a year in advance or whatever, and you're there and you're enjoying it, and you look and like there's 2 or 3 empty campsites in that place while you're there, yet the reservation system says it's full.
Right.
And so this is a great way to book those campsites because a lot of the cancellations are last minute. What parks does it work with, and what systems does CampScanner work with?
Yes, so it works with pretty much all the federal parks. And so that's everything that's in recreation.gov. right, which represents thousands of parks and all the big ones that we are always trying to get into, Grand Canyon, Glacier. And by the way, good example, and I love this example. So the week before Memorial Day weekend, right, the week before, which is about when I would usually be spontaneous and try to book a trip, right? So one week before, for fun, I went into CampScanner and I set up scans for the hardest to search parks. And I've got a screenshot here just to make sure I get these right. I put in an alert for Glacier National Park, Big Bend, Shenandoah National Park, Yosemite, Grand Canyon, Zion, Arches, and Acadia. All of them, by the way, sold out. If you were to go search, they were sold out. I put in searches for those. I got alerts for every single one of them over the course of that week. Multiple openings, and I could have booked any of them. So it works with all the federal parks and thousands of state parks too. So it's everything in recreation.gov, everything in Reserve America, which covers quite a lot. We then have independently tied in with the California state park system, and we're soon to be launching Florida and Texas. And we're just going to continue working to get every state in the system that's not already in the system, and then start working with private parks from there.
Wow, that is incredible, and what a great way to get around the inability to make reservations, right? Because I wouldn't even dream of trying to do Arches or Yosemite or anything like that anywhere close. I would, be up at midnight hitting
on the day that it opens.
Yeah, right. That's typically how you book these, and now that just changes the whole game, as you've done with Harvest Hosts and like the free overnighting.
Right.
I mean, we talked to you. I don't remember how it's been 3 or 4 years.
It's been a while, yeah.
Where there were a decent number of Harvest Host locations, and now there's almost 5,000.
Right.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, and that, I guess our goal, to steal a trademark slogan here, is to make stressless camping, right? I mean, that's the idea. We're all out there dealing with enough stuff, right? Let's make the camping part as easy as possible. And, obviously we love Harvest Hosts because we just finished a 2-month road trip, took our 2-year-old daughter to some amazing farms and animal sanctuaries and things like that. But then we also love sprinkling in the parks, and we love going to normal campgrounds. And so our goal at Harvest Hosts as a company is to make happier campers and happier communities, right? That's our stated mission. And what we're trying to do now is kind of help our members along their whole journey. And the journey for most RVers includes all of these things. Right. Unique camping at a farm, going to a national park, staying at a traditional campground, and maybe a Walmart parking lot, which, by the way, is the only thing we're trying to get rid of. And there's nothing about Walmart. I love Walmart, but I hate spending the night in their parking lots. The lights are bright. Never really know if someone's going to knock on your door. You think it's safe, but you're not quite sure, so you don't sleep that well, right? So, we're just trying to make camping more stressless. Yeah,
well, we totally dig that. It's funny, the peace of mind you get even at a Harvest Host, where you just feel like you belong there. And staying at Walmart, you're right. You don't sleep well, and of course they're usually lit up like a movie studio. And with Harvest Hosts and Boondockers, welcome. You've solved that. And now, if you do want to make reservations in some of these hard to find places, you've solved that. How would somebody go about signing up for CampScanner? And you had mentioned different tiers. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. Yep. So there are 3 different tiers of the program. There is Base Camp, which is the $39 a year. It gets you scans every 15 minutes. So it'll ping these systems every 15 minutes. You can set up 5 concurrent scans. So you can have 5 different parks going, or multiple campgrounds within a park. The second tier is the Trailhead. And that one increases that frequency to 10-minute scans. So every 10 minutes it's looking, and you can do 10 scans. And then the Summit plan is the most expensive. And by the way, that's relative because it's still really cheap. $79 for an entire year, unlimited usage. unlimited notifications. And that scans every 5 minutes. You can have 15 concurrent scans. So that's the one, if you're really trying to get the most certainty for finding a cancellation, the Summit plan is the best one. The nice thing is if you're already a Harvest Host member, you can actually add CampScanner to your account obnoxiously inexpensive. Like I think for Harvest Host members, the Summit plan is like 56% off, right? So it ends up being less than $40 a year. And then if you're not a member of Harvest Host, that's fine. You can go directly to the website and sign up, and it's still very, very affordable. And
that website is campscanner.com.
That's right.
Or you can get there from harvesthost.com.
That's right. Yep.
Okay.
And the nice thing is too, if you're a Harvest Host member or if you're a Campers Card member, you can, or a Boondockers Welcome member, all the logins, they all work together. So you don't have to create a new login. As soon as you go to CampScanner, you can use your Harvest Host credentials to log in. It already has all your account information on file, so there's no additional setup, which is great.
Nice.
So I use the Harvest Host app when I'm looking for sites. Will the CampScanner work with the same app?
So that is going to be the next phase.
Okay.
Is starting to get this inventory into the app, because I agree it's nice when you're searching a route for Harvest Host, it'd be nice to see what different types of campgrounds, both private and public, you could use our tools for.
Right.
And so that's the coming soon feature.
Okay. And so you said you tagged different parks for Memorial Weekend. Could you, if you know that there's a campground that you prefer, or maybe because of your rig size, you only fit in the campgrounds here and not those campgrounds in the same park, can you pick just certain campgrounds, or do you have to pick the whole park?
Yeah, great question. So the tool's designed to be really simple, which I like. So you go, you just basically a search bar and say you want to do Shenandoah National Park. You'll put in Shenandoah, it'll auto-complete, say this is what it looks like you're searching for. It'll then show you all the campgrounds within Shenandoah, and maybe there's like 5 of them. You can select, what I would do is select all of them, say I want to search all of them, because the next screen asks you about your vehicle. And if you're a tent camper, you can say tent camper, and then that's fine. It's going to search everything pretty much. If you're in an RV, you'd select RV, and then you'll select the size, 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet. And then it'll only return results that match your criteria. So then there's no reason not to select all the campgrounds. And if it hits and you've got a 30-foot RV, it's going to send you results that are appropriate.
That's great. So it does it for you, so you don't have to figure out which ones you might fit in. And great.
We try to make it as simple as possible, because I know what you're talking about. I've done this so many times where I have to go research the campground. Are they RV accessible? There's a lot behind the scenes. We make it just a couple filters. You say, I'm in an RV. This is how big it is. This is how many nights I want to go. You can even say I'm flexible on dates, and it can search a day before or after to give you even more options for these cancellations.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because that one day on either side may make a huge difference.
Yeah.
That's right. And, and for us campers, a lot of times we're pretty flexible. Like, hey, if Yosemite opens up a day early, neat. I'll go a day early.
Right. On recreation.gov, they don't use dynamic pricing, do they?
No, it's not. No dynamic pricing. And also, worth noting, we don't tack on any sort of booking fees or any middleman fees here at all. We connect you directly to them. We basically send you a link that takes you directly to the appropriate page for the campground, for the site, and then you do it right through rec.gov. We wanted to make sure we weren't becoming, yet another obnoxious fee in the middle.
Another booking engine.
That's right. No, we're just pushing you over there. The nice thing is we spoke to the people who built recreation.gov and told them what we were doing, and basically said, hey, are we cool here? Are you okay with what we're doing? And they said yes, because our agreement with the U.S. government is that we're trying to get more people into the parks, and that's what you guys are helping facilitate. So that's wonderful. We're all on the same page.
Great.
Yeah, really. I mean, you're helping the park system too, because those empty campgrounds, they have a pretty liberal cancellation policy, and those empty campsites do nothing for the park. So if there's, if you can fill those, then that's actually beneficial to the revenue stream for the park itself.
Totally. And it's great for the patrons, because I think that the biggest cost you're right. It is really easy to book a reservation. It's like $20. And then if you don't go, you're like, who cares? Well, the person who cares is the other person who couldn't get into the park, right? Like, that's who cares. And so hopefully now our system helps that other person have a shot, which is the goal.
Yeah, that's been the big frustration, is how many times you go to these places that are sold out and there's all these empty campsites and you're like, what is that? And it's people who, you're right, $20, so what?
But now we have to educate those people who have all those cheap reservations and don't go and don't bother to cancel them. Because without someone canceling, we're not going to get a notification that there came up a spot.
Right. Now, some of them I think, and maybe this depends on the park, because I think some of them auto cancel if you don't show up. And so you may get billed for day one, and say it's a 5-day reservation. Those other 4 days will then pop up in our system. Because when I went to Moraine in Rocky Mountain National Park a couple of years ago, half the park was empty and it was sold out. And I asked the ranger, like, what's the deal? And they said basically, like, day one, we charge you, but then we just cancel the rest. And that was surprising to me. So the park doesn't even get the money for those unused days.
So you're actually hurting the park system by not
canceling.
Properly canceling.
Yeah.
Well, that's just rude.
I know.
Right. Well, it's funny because I think people think it's a victimless crime making a reservation and not using it. And the reality is it's not really, because someone else is now unable to use that reservation, which would be fun for them and their family and also good for the park.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people just hesitate to even kind of dream of going to these great places, knowing how difficult it can be to get a reservation. And you have solved that with CampScanner.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you, the fact that I could get into Yosemite, which is just impossible on Memorial Day weekend, yeah, it works, and it's proof that there are thousands of cancellations every day in these parks, and all you have to do is set up an alert, and in the middle of the night, let the system work while you're in your pajamas, right? Like, the system, it's up, it's running, it's working. I mentioned, over 100,000 scans. Tens of thousands of those have now led to successful reservations, which is neat. I actually took a screenshot of all the ones I was able to get into for proof, because no one's going to believe me. It's working. So I would encourage anyone listening, that's curious, you can go to campscanner.com. You can actually set up a search and see how it works before you even pay. Now, to activate it, to start getting text messages, you need to then create the account. But you can actually go in and set up, put in the park, see the campgrounds, set up the filters. You can see how the whole thing works before paying a dime. So we're trying to be pretty transparent. It's not everything's behind a paywall. It's not like, oh, give us your money, we promise there's something back here. No, you can go build your scan, actually. And then at the end, when you pay, it'll then, boom, it's active. So it's worth checking out. It's a really fun system. We tried to make this as affordable as possible. It cost us, candidly, like millions to create. It took a lot of engineers a long time to build. So we have to pay for it, which is why it's not free. But I think it's going to be a great tool for campers of all types, right? Not just us RVers, but tent campers, car campers. Like, this is for everybody. And that's worth noting. Most of our other business stuff is for RVers. That's what we know the most. That's who we are. This one's for everybody, every camper. So it's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for explaining all that and describing it. And we're looking forward to starting to use it ourselves.
Yeah, except I almost want to book all my reservations and then release this podcast. I mean, that would be selfish, right? But,
Look,
well, maybe we're going to choose to scan places they aren't. So the other questions that we ask, and I don't know if we were doing this when you've been on the show before, but can you tell us your favorite, best camping memory?
Yeah, probably. Well, I have a couple. I guess I have to caveat. So the first, and I've mentioned this story before, so apologies to those who've heard it, but the first time I ever used Harvest Hosts was to visit a farm in Kansas that was run by nuns. And it was just really cool, right? Like every nun did something different. Like one made alpaca scarves, one made soaps, and one gave massages. And I got a massage from an 80-year-old nun in Kansas on an alpaca farm. And like that was just so memorable that I just can't stop talking about it. More recently, our daughter's now 2.5. And I remember the first RV trip we ever took her on was to go to Moab. And we went out to Moab, camped at the KOA out there, took her to Arches. And so that was a really special trip because that was her first RV trip. And she was so engaged, even for being super young, she was into it. Yeah. She was just like us, kind of awestruck by the beauty and the whole situation. So I knew we had a camper on our hands at that point, and that was very special as a parent. So those are probably two of my most cherished memories.
Oh, actually, one of my favorite memories is your story about the alpaca nuns.
Yeah. And we have stayed, by the way, at alpaca farms.
We have.
Through Harvest Hosts.
Yeah.
And bought alpaca. Like we have this alpaca blanket, but I haven't been massaged by a nun yet.
No, not yet.
You still got things to do as a traveler, so that's nice.
That's right.
Yeah. In fact, I could go babble on and on, but the rig we bought, the RV that we have, the Rockwood Mini Lite with a power package, was purchased specifically because of the solar and lithium system it has, so we could be off the grid indefinitely.
And go to more Harvest Host locations.
Right. It was specifically bought knowing we love going to Harvest Host locations.
Oh.
So
I love to hear that.
I hate to end on a sad note, but do you also have a worst camping memory?
Oh, interesting. Well, I guess the worst would be, and I think you guys have had a similar experience, was crashing an RV. So our first fifth wheel, I just picked it up in Littleton out of storage. I was getting ready to take it on a trip. So I was actually going to take it, pick up my wife, and we were going to go out towards Moab. And I got cut off by an 18-wheeler who kind of drove me into the pylons and just shredded the side of the fifth wheel. Oh. And that was a bummer. Luckily, everybody was safe. Nobody got hurt, right? But it was scary because it was a good reminder that like dangerous things can happen. Driving is inherently dangerous. Pulling a big rig makes it even more dangerous. So, and then of course the camping trip was ruined. So yeah. I guess that was a bummer, but a good reminder. I think anytime something bad happens and there was nothing devastating from it, it's just a good like reminder that we're mortal and it's important to stay on our toes. Like, right. So I look at it as just a good wake up.
Yeah, that you're smarter than we are. After we got rear-ended, we just kept using the camper, including when we camped with you. And the whole back end was all caved in.
Yeah. And by the way, I get that because my first call was to AAA, and I was like, I think I can keep going. I just need a tire replaced. And they're like, sir, the entire back half of your fifth wheel's missing. Like, no, just put another tire on it. We'll be fine.
How much duct tape can I get at the local hardware store?
Sure,
I have a tarp. It'll be okay.
Oh, man.
Yeah, denial is an important part of road travel.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent.
Oh, man. Well, it is always a pleasure to speak with you, and I hope we get to camp with you again soon.
Yes.
And what a great product. So obviously we're going to spread the word and tell everybody what an awesome thing you've done here again.
Right.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and always a pleasure catching up. So hopefully we'll see you on the road or see you on the podcast again soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Well, thank you for joining us. If you're looking for great ideas, tips, hacks, stories, deals and discounts, including deals and discounts on Harvest Host membership and more, come join us at our home on the web at StressLessCamping.com, and we also have a weekly podcast. Thank you for being here, and happy camping!